Hello. In this clip from our Justia webinar, How AI Impacts Small and Solo Law Firms, exploring the potential benefits and risks of incorporating AI into practice, Thomas Schack shares his final thoughts about how law firms can stay ahead of the curve when dealing with AI while answering the audience's questions. If you want to see more Justia videos on law practice and legal marketing, be sure to subscribe to our channel.
Common challenges and concerns. Again, uploading confidential client data to an unsecured AI platform could lead to a data breach. You got to remember that all of this data that we're uploading, for the most part, some organizations, if you upload client information and you utilize it, they will delete it right away, right after you're done with whatever the AI project is that you're working on. So you really want to be, you want to be very cautious about the possibility of a data breach, because these systems are really designed to be scoured and learned and digested, right? So all of this can create enormous headaches. Again, you may miss important legal nuances if you rely on AI for your legal research. It's not time to put down the pen. It's not time to put your mouse away. And rely upon these systems to do, solid legal work for you. Using AI to predict legal outcomes without proper human oversight might lead to inaccurate predictions and poor legal advice. That was what we were talking about sort of earlier in the presentation. And you must ensure that AI is used as a tool and not a replacement for your own legal experience, expertise, and judgment. So how can you stay ahead of the curve, or ahead of or in this case, maybe the tsunami? AI is automating tasks previously done by lawyers and paralegals, leading to potential changes in the legal workforce. Well, again, I'm not trying to suggest that the paralegals are going to be out of business in the next year or two. But I am suggesting respectfully that paralegals are going to be out of business at some point. And the reason is because these systems are just so evolving so quickly, and some of these systems can do the research of 10 paralegals it would take 10 paralegals a week to do. It can do in 5 minutes. It's remarkable. And just keep that in mind. Don't just start like saying, hey, do I really need, this person, this paralegal? Do I really need? Be very cautious about adopting AI as the basis for your research for the reasons that we've already pointed out. Lawyers who adopt and leverage AI will be better positioned to compete with the evolving legal landscape. This is really an important thing, and the reason is because if you're here today and you're attending this webinar, you're already ahead of the curve. Most lawyers, and certainly most experienced lawyers that I talk with or that I consult with, I try to explain to them that for instance, in contract analysis is probably the best AI capability out there right now. Both comparing contracts. Making sure, checking drafts, so that you don't have to go through with your ruler and cross things out. So AI can be very, very helpful in that respect. But you got to be very, very careful, and you don't want to simply adopt that and say, well, this costs me $100 a month instead of the salary for a paralegal. We're not there yet. And you are on the curve, on the head of the curve. You are in the forefront, but you got to stay there, right? You got to do more of this. You got to do more analysis. So a reminder about Model Rule 1.1, which emphasizes the need for lawyers to maintain competence in their practice. Again, you have to understand the benefits and risks of the relevant technology that you're using. So I urge you to be very, very cautious in that respect. All right. The other practice tip here is, and as a professor in entrepreneurship and the law, this is just important for every firm, whether it's a big firm, medium firm, small firm, solo firm. You have to foster a culture of innovation and continuous learning. It can't just be that, we found this AI tool and now we're good, right? So now we can move on, or now we can just do the work. Well, maybe so, but you have to be aware of what's coming down the pike. And the reason is because, in all truth, the AI systems will be able to replace a substantial amount of what we do as attorneys. And we'll talk about what they can't do, but they can, they can make significant changes, for us, and and those changes are, you have to be very, very cautious. But if you constantly have an environment in which you say, hey, look, you say to me, Tom, you should be checking out, the new systems to make sure that if we're in the wills and estates business, wills, estates, and trusts, where that's an industry that you have to be very, very aware of the AI advancements in. Criminal law, not so much, but certainly you want to be continuously learning. All right, you also have to benefit the balance of benefits of AI with human judgment and expertise. To ensure the ethical and effective use of AI technology, attorneys must balance the benefits of AI automation and decision support with the need for human judgment and expertise. Again, this kind of goes back to this. Everybody should just always be looking at Rule 1.1. You have to know how the system that you're using works, what data is it drawing from, and what could happen if something goes wrong. So legal professionals should use AI tools as aids to enhance your capabilities and efficiency, but not to substitute your own judgment, experience, and your own ethical standards. These are very, very critical issues, and all of us have to be, have to continually be aware of it. All right, we're going to wrap up. But in here, the legal industry is rapidly evolving with AI, but if you're able to learn and understand the capabilities and limitations, you'll be able to leverage this technology and improve efficiency and research, and you can even, as I note here, you can gain a competitive edge. But you must prioritize data security, client confidentiality, and ethical considerations when integrating AI into your practice. You just have to do it. It's a must. Remember, the legal field is built on accuracy and precision. You really have to have a critical eye, and you have to make sure that you review every single word and every single case of anything that you rely upon AI to generate. You have to check you have to shepherdize every case. You have to make sure that you understand. You still have to read the case and understand it, and you have to be able to. In our case, an argument, you have to be able to reference those cases. So finally, it may be exciting, effective, scary, and risky all at once. It is. But one thing that AI will not be able to do anytime soon, at least, is look into the eyes of a jury and make an impassioned argument as an advocate. The reason I usually conclude with this is that you have to understand that there are some human qualities that we as lawyers and humans aren't ready to give up. That's an example of one, right? I've tried hundreds of cases in the state courts of Massachusetts, and both jury and bench, and the thing that AI will not ever be able to do for you is to make that impassioned argument. It may be able to support your impassioned argument, but there's still the human connection is a very, very important connection in the law. And so long as you're keeping an eye on that too, and that you understand where the eye to eye or the face to face or computer to computer contact takes place, with clients in particular, you want to make sure that you continue to bring that humanity to your practice and to the experience as a whole. All right, this is my final practice tip, and I always say the same thing, and and I can't repeat it enough. You have one name and reputation; it can all end in a quick minute. Don't take chances. I mean, if you want to be the next poster child for what not to do in AI as an attorney, then you can just ignore this and do as you please. But just remember, reputation is everything. Name and reputation is everything, particularly for us as small and solo practices. I mean, it's word of mouth. It's you want people to want people to continue to refer you. You want people to continue to believe in you, and you want to continue to be able to serve your clients in the best way possible and give them the best service and solutions that you can. All right, that is the conclusion of the program. I welcome anybody to reach out to me at shack.esq@gmail or go to our website, shack.law. And reach out if you want to talk about anything relative to what you're thinking about doing and setting up an internal AI system for legal support. Because again, we're testing all of these things, and under most circumstances, if it's a quick question, no problem. But if we have the ability to be able to do the deep research on these systems too. So with that, I will hand it back to Dina, and I want to thank everybody for their time and attention today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tom, for that wonderful presentation. Awesome. We can now move on to audience questions. So as I mentioned at the top of the presentation, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask Tom, please feel free to submit them through that Q&A button in the control panel at the bottom of your screen. It looks like we've already got a couple, so we can dive right in. Our first question is, how do you assess which tools to leverage for automation? They gave the example of Zapier and AI. And are there specific actions that you'd advise limiting entirely?
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's really, as it relates to automation, I think we described some of that, right? Like we described the ability, of you to be able to upload or to utilize these vast but closed data sets. So yes, it's going to have an incredible impact on efficiency. But it still is in its nascent stage. It's still in a stage that you have to be very, very cautious about. So yes, that will happen, and yes, it'll be useful for you. But again, always a note of caution.
Thanks, Tom. Our next question is, do you have any thoughts on how AI tools are affecting regulatory work?
Yeah, so that's also very, very interesting. It's a great question. Having come from the regulatory world as the comptroller of Massachusetts, this is one of the areas that we try to stay on top of and focus on. It is. If you think about it, like I'll give you an example. Here in Massachusetts, there's a regulatory authority that oversees certain attorneys doing certain work, right? Not the bar, not the BBO, not the Board of Bar Overseers here in Massachusetts, not the ABA, but it's a government agency that oversees a certain number of private attorneys. Those attorneys there's a guidebook that's provided to each of those attorneys when they join this particular group. And it's about 470 pages of what to do and what not to do. So I would say, unless it's not really a rational thing to go and read a 400-page document. So as government officials, we're really good at creating tons and tons of verbiage and nonsense, and we make up rules, and it's and yes, AI is going to have a great ability to be able to decipher and discern in those areas, and I think it's going to be a very, very big area. So I think it's a great question.
Awesome. Thank you for that additional insight. Another person asked, how can I possibly mitigate the potential biases in AI and algorithms, as you highlighted today in the webinar, just so I'm ensuring fair and unbiased legal services?
So So bias is something that, you have to reconcile, right? You have to make a determination of, what work are you doing? If you're working on equal opportunity, cases, for instance, if you're working on matters that involve, people's rights, or that could involve bias, obviously we see this with the United States Supreme Court often. So you just have to keep in mind that those biases, if you think of it this way, and again, not to be too futuristic or too frightening, but soon enough, within the next few years, governments will basically be running through AI systems. All of the systems that your state runs on and the federal government runs on will be AI supported, and even replaced with AI in certain respects. So but keep this in mind, that in AI systems, one of the things that we do all the time, when we're relying upon, is that they're bringing into our conversation. Let me put it this way: configuration is everything, right? That's configuration is absolutely everything. And I know the folks just understand this because of their own involvement in the AI world. But you have to be concerned about who's flipping the on and off switches, right? So like if the IRS, this switch goes on so that you can, calling for an audit in a particular situation, whoever's deciding to say yes audit or no audit, that's a big decision, and that person could be biased, right? So this is a little bit beyond just the legal stuff, but you really do have to be aware of the fact that configuration, who is going to be setting the rules and the parameters for our governments in the future, for our legal systems in the future, for our legal research, for our cases, for our practice. Those are all important questions, and they're vague. So we'll get there.
That's a great point. Thanks, Tom. Another person asked, as I start to use AI to possibly streamline my case preparation, do I have an obligation to let my clients know that I'm using it? And how should I tell them if I do?
Well, look, I think it's important. There are obviously positives and negatives about a requirement, right? Like, so if you were required to tell the client, it may or may not be necessary depending upon your practice. But there are certain areas that I do think it's not a bad idea. And, you can work it right into your retainer agreements too, and just say, our firm utilizes the whatever, and we do our best to make sure that everything is above board and accurate. But I think just even a minor disclosure like that would be, from my perspective, would be enough. But it all depends on your risk tolerance.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. And then our last question for today that we have time for, you kind of touched on, if you're going to be putting documents into AI, that you should make them general. For maybe solo or small firms that have limited IT resources, how would you recommend doing that? Do you have any kind of tips or tricks about that?
Yeah. So if you want to sanitize, right? If that's what we're really talking about here, you want to sanitize your data or your documents or your material before you put them into this, to a closed AI system that somebody else might have access to. It's a great question, number one, but it's also a very, very important aspect of where we're going in this particular field. So just keep in mind that there will be systems. There actually are systems, but I don't know that they're really tuned in yet to be able to do the right kind of redaction that we're talking about, so that you can sanitize a document, sanitize information, sanitize a file. You will be able to do that. It will and they're working on it right now. So it's just a matter of time, and not much time. I would say probably within the next 18 months. And obviously that's going to have a dramatic impact. There's a great ability there too, to be able to share information with other attorneys, right? So if you're uploading sanitized information, and so are all the other attorneys in this particular practice area. I mean, you're going to wind up with a fantastic database of potential benefits for your client. And by the way, none of those other attorneys are going to be, named and sitting before your client. So, I mean, you will always seem like you're ahead of the game, and that you're on top of your game if you do pay attention to these things.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tom, so much for those additional insights. And thank you all for asking your questions and joining us today. We want to thank you for joining us for another Justia webinar. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did enjoy it, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos on law practice and legal marketing. See you in our next clip.